What's good, college football fans? Let's dive into more disrespect that has been put out there by the media in regards to what's going down in the SEC. And I'm a little perturbed that we really got to stop overselling some teams and underselling others, because the logic is not there every time I see this list. Now, we all know we are in the off season, so lists are here. This is literally the only thing we've got going to keep us busy. And so we're going to talk about this because this list from 247, Brad Crawford, just made me scratch my head because he listed out, ranked in all the SEC football's head coaches. And when I looked at it, I'm just like, there was two things that jumped out to me. And I'm just like, this makes no sense. And so because of that, we're going to break all of this down. Before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. Y'all know what it is. If y'all like the content here, please hit that like button. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. We would love for you to join this family of college football fans. We're talking a lot of OU football and college football in general, having a blast doing it. And so we're going to jump into Brad Crawford from 247's rankings on the SEC football head coaches. And you know what? Let me pull it up and let's discuss. Okay, y'all see the list. I know something jumped out to y'all. It had to, right? Because as soon as I saw it, I'm like, wait. And I'll just say it now. Why is the guy that's 2-0 versus another guy with less talent ranked behind him? Why is Kellen DeBoer behind Steve Sarkisian? Like, no shade to what Sark is doing down there at Texas. He's shown some improvement each year. But at the same time, Kellen DeBoer has a team that has a much lower blue chip percentage at Washington. And he's beaten them twice in bowl games, back-to-back years, right? He beat them in the Alamo Bowl last year and then beat them in the playoffs on a Washington team that's considered inferior. If you look at talent-wise, not saying that they are inferior, but talent-wise, they are considered that. He's ranked number 4. He's taken over an Alabama team that has way more talent than he had at Washington, and he brought some of his best players from Washington there. What are we doing here? Why is there so much disrespect for Kellen DeBoer walking into here? The man has gone everywhere and won. And again, he took Washington to the playoffs when the pack looked like it was actually pretty strong. And yeah, they played pretty good against Michigan. They just couldn't finish, right? They as the game went on, they lost attrition at the end of that game. They just couldn't hang on to keeping up with what Michigan was doing because Michigan was just a better team. They were the best team in the country. They proved it week in and week out. And so I'm fascinated at the fact that DeBoer is 4th. I would put DeBoer at 2nd because he's done a lot more with a lot less in comparison to a lot of the coaches on here. So that was really my biggest qualm. Now, outside of that, Kirby Smart, heck yeah, back-to-back national champions. His only losses come to Alabama. That's really it over the last 3 years. Almost went for Oklahoma's longest winning streak in college football history, which now that's gone because they lost an SEC championship game. So thank goodness. Record still stays in Norman. Boomer Sooner. But I'm looking at this like, okay, Brian Kelly, I guess I could understand. Brian Kelly is 20-7 in his 2 years there at LSU. Little questionable, but at the same time, I guess I can understand him being top 4. I still think Kellen DeBoer, to me, number 1 is Kirby Smart, number 2 is Kellen DeBoer, because DeBoer's been to a playoff. And like I said, he's going to a team with more talent than what he had before. And now he needs to just execute on it. We'll see. But going into it, before anything happened, yeah, he should be higher than that. Sarkisian, I don't understand the hype behind Texas. Correction. I get some of it, but I don't understand why it's really just projected out there so much. They are really riding high on that win against Alabama. And the media that is. It's not Texas. The media is riding that heavy. You're like, oh man, they beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa on one of Nick Saban's worst teams. Even though Saban still went out there and won 11 games. That's what we're talking about, right? How are we here in this situation where Sarkisian is considered the third best team, even though everybody was kind of at one point was questioning, OU and Texas going into the SEC and if they can do it. But, Texas went out there and won in Alabama. Sure. They're losing a lot of, they're bringing back enough production. I think they're ranked 5th in the SEC. They're ranked 5th in the SEC on offense and defense production returning. So that's not bad. Actually, that's really good. So they're bringing back more players. But the question is execution on all of that. I still don't understand how Sarkisian is really being propped up this high already. Now, if I was to put Sarkisian anywhere, I would probably keep him at 3rd. If I was to be truly objective here, I keep Sark at 3rd. DeBoer should be number 2. Brian Kelly should be right behind him. And the only reason why I would give Sark probably, I guess, the nod is he went to the playoffs. Now, granted, we still have questions about that. And he also won, like I said, at Alabama. But Brian Kelly, like I said, 20-7. He has a fight for being 3rd as well. So that's cool. Lane Kiffin at 5. He won 11 wins at Ole Miss. First time school history. Done way more than what Hugh Freeze had did there. So I totally get that. Heupel's moving up the chain. So yeah, he's had 2 back-to-back really good, double-digit win seasons. So guess we can give that to Josh Heupel and what he's doing at Tennessee. He's becoming someone that everyone considered as a threat. He's 28-8 there. And I'm sorry, he didn't win 10 last year. He won 9. So he 7-6, 11-2, 9-4, which 9-4 is actually really good for what they were working with, to be honest. And I'm a big Joe Milton fan. He didn't end up the way that I hoped it did. It's a little bit on Heupel, but yeah. Why is Drinkwitz above Mark Stoops? Drinkwitz should not be 7. Actually, I think Drink is probably closer to like 9. Because twofold. One, he's had 1 winning season at Missouri, and this was past season. 5-7, 6-7, 6-7. What about that says that he should be rated so high because they had a good year? Now, they're returning some talent, but that doesn't mean... him and Ole Miss had some pretty weak schedules last year. And on top of that, the 2 big games, they lost them to the 2 main teams. Now, you would ask, okay, so how is Drinkwitz behind Heupel after beating him last season? But it's a good question. Heupel's already got 2 winning seasons, though, there at Tennessee compared to what Drink has done. So Drink should be behind Mark Stoops because Mark Stoops has done a masterful job there at Kentucky. Like, Kentucky has never been a football school, and Kentucky every year is a threat. They don't win every year. They're a threat. So you kind of got to get Mark Stoops up. So I think Mark Stoops should move up. We got Hugh Freeze down here at 9 with Venables at 10. I guess I still feel like, Venables is going to prove himself when going into the SEC. 110 wins the second season, which is fantastic jump from the 6-7 year of complete revamping. Over 90% of the players from the old regime are gone. So he basically refreshed the entire roster within a year and a half, 2 years. That's something not many people can say. So I think Brent Venables, though, probably should be above what Hugh Freeze is. And like I said, Drink has only had 1 winning season in the 4 years he's been in Missouri. What gives him the leeway of being pushed up so high? Like, can we see a repeat? Because we've seen coaches do that. They have 1 good year and then they disappear, right? The good thing for Venables is he's back at a familiar place. We've seen what he did at Clemson. We saw what he did when he was at Oklahoma. Competitive teams, especially running defenses. Now he's, as a head coach, he's bringing in pieces. He's got a lot to prove. So between 7 and 10 makes sense for where Venables is because he's got to prove himself. Even though he did beat Sarkisian, beat the best Texas team we've seen since their national championship year. We beat them, in Red River. Kind of a little weird, right? That the disrespect is there because everyone's saying, oh, it's their Super Bowl. Yes, it's a rivalry game. It's both teams' Super Bowl. Both teams are playing hard for that game because it's both of their big game. That is a big rivalry. Don't BS and pretend like that don't exist. So then you got here Elko, who's coming back to Texas A&M. Was at Duke, came here. Duke did really good with him. Now he's come to Texas A&M. He's basically cleaning up what was going on there with Jimbo Fisher. That's fair. Napier, that Shane Beamer dropped. Woo, him and Pittman. Like, I would like to argue for Billy all the way down to Lebby, but I can't. Now, Lebby, he's a new coach. We don't know what he's going to do there at Mississippi State. We've got to just see what he does. I mean, he put up some big numbers at Oklahoma, but he also had Brent Venables as the head coach and the pseudo defensive coordinator. A lot of moving parts there, so not sure. And then Clark Lay, I feel bad for that man. Even though he had a winning season with Vanderbilt, he gets no love. But when I'm looking at this, I just don't understand the disrespect that we're seeing here for Kellen DeBoer and honestly with Venables and how we're hyping up others that we got to see it proven, right? When you have years of data, you kind of got to go off of that. I kind of give new guys a little bit more grace because they're new. We got to see if they can do it. And so even as unproven, I still feel like they still deserve, something from their past accomplishments. Like, give me multiple years here, folks. That's all I asked for. But I don't know. Hop in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. How y'all feel about this? What do y'all think about the rankings? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? Am I off base? Y'all know me. I like when y'all jump in the comments and engage. That way I can understand, my thought process too. I'm not going to come in here with some BS on y'all. I always try to bring a little bit of a data that backs up what I'm saying, but love to hear from you all. You made it this far, you like this content, please hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. Would love for you to join this family of college football fans. Like I said, talking to you football and college football in general. Having a blast do it. So, YouTube says check out one of these videos. Highly recommend it because I put it together for you. We got a podcast episode coming on Saturday morning, and we'll talk soon. Peace.